Hello guys, MacLeod here, and welcome to my review of this Valve Steam controller. Now obviously this review is based on my own personal experience, as it's going to vary from other reviewers who has also reviewed the Steam controller. Now with that in mind, let's delve in with the tour of the controller itself. Now on the top we have a left analog stick, dual haptic touchpads, a start, select and seam overlay buttons, and on top of that we have the standard A, B, X, Y buttons. Now on the bottom we have the paddles as well as a very simple glossy Steam logo, and finally on the back we have the trigger buttons as well as the micro USB charging cable, which also can act as a input cable if you prefer wired over wireless. Setting up the device was really simple. You take off the back cover, install the included AA batteries, plug in the USB dongle, turn on the controller, activate big picture mode, and then you're off to the races. Now I didn't have the same issues that other people have been having when they turn on the Steam controller for the first time and connect it to their computer. For me, I activate big picture mode, I installed the included firmware, and that was that. It was really easy, and I personally think this is a truly plug and play device. Even now we don't have that much options without having to install drivers. So, really simple. Now to the games I played with the Steam controller. I tested the controller with Octodad, the Talos Principle, Fallout 4, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and finally but not least, Rocket League. Let's start with Octodad. Now it was really painful trying to control the character with this controller. Not a great start. Now Rocket League had a slightly different story. After fiddling with the controller layout, I found that controlling the car was a breeze, but I found that my hand was starting a bit numb from having pressing this button for an extended period of time, because you have to hold down the right trigger for the car to move. Next up is the Talos Principle. This was a pain to set up, I'm not going to lie. When I first wanted to play the game with the Steam controller, it wouldn't pick it up. Later that night, I found out that I didn't install, there was a public beta that added support for the Steam controller. That was a fault on my part. I installed the beta, and nothing. The controller still wasn't being picked up. Now this was so puzzling to me, I had to ask for help on the Steam community forums, basically saying I couldn't get it working. And it turned out what you have to do after you install the beta is start up the Talos Principle with the controller connected outside of big picture mode. And now it works flawlessly within or outside of big picture mode. But since the Steam controller support for the Talos Principle is still in beta, I'm going to let this slide. Now we get onto the FPS games. Counter-Strike Global Offensive was the first game I tried ever on the Steam controller, and I was absolutely owned by the other players I was on that server. Playing with bots wasn't much better, but at least then my KD ratio was respectable. My kills was slightly higher than my deaths. This is where you can customize your own controller, really does help. You can customize anything you want on it, the sensitivity of either the touchpads, map the buttons here. You can map about anything onto this, and like the Xbox One Elite, and I found it was super helpful for playing Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Now finally, we can move on to Fallout 4. This is where I spent the most time on the controller out of any other games I tested. I've played the campaign for about 11 hours now on Fallout 4, and I've done it entirely on this controller. Now the controller was detected from the get-go. The moment I hit play in big picture mode, it just worked. Although word to the wise, if you are planning to play Fallout 4 with the Steam controller, then I would highly recommend we map this from mouse to mouse-like joystick, because then you can actually pan around with the camera. And the thing I noticed most about the Steam controller while playing Fallout 4 was the aiming. I found that I wasn't aiming as well with this controller versus, say, a keyboard or mouse, or even a traditional dual analog stick system. I'm saying this because I found out I was missing by a couple of millimeters with this controller, and I found that I was wasting valuable ammo, which if anyone who's played Fallout 4, Fallout in general, knows how valuable ammo is. Now the other issue I have with the Steam controller is it's way too easy for you to crouch. I found in Fallout 4 that I crouch accidentally when I'm turning around trying to shoot the enemies, and that really stuffs me over sometimes. It gets me killed. All other controllers are fine. The buttons feel not too cheap. The dual haptic system, while not great, it still feels nice in the hand and has a nice feel to it. The analog stick also has a nice weight to it and it doesn't feel too cheap. And overall, it was a great controller to use. But here's the bottom line. Should you run out right now and purchase a Steam controller? No. The problem here is that the Steam controller still suffers from problems that a brand new piece of hardware like the Steam controller would suffer from. Other users have been experiencing real deal-breaking glitches and problems with the Steam controller, and you should really take that into consideration if you want to buy one right now. The back pedals, while nice, and I'm pretty sure other players would utilize them correctly, I found that I wasn't using them that much while playing Fallout 4 and still pressing the X button whenever I need to reload. Having the ability to reconfigure anything on the Steam controller is another plus, and make sure that you are the most comfortable while playing the titles you want to play. And I find that having the ability to manually change any button you want on separate games, and it will remember that settings, and you don't have to go from 2 separate profiles for every single game, again is an additional plus, considering you only get 2 profiles on Microsoft's Xbox One Elite software. Give this controller a couple more months or years, depending, for the firmware to mature more and Valve to fine-tune some aspects of the controller. I think using touchpads instead of the traditional dual analog sticks is really innovative, and maybe in a couple of years time, in the next Xbox or DualShock controllers, we will see touchpads instead of the traditional analog sticks. This controller has the potential to be something quite special, but for now I think I'll stick with my trusty DualShock 4. And there you go guys, that's my review of Valve's Steam controller. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Peace.